Welcome back to the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. I'm Inquisitor Temperance Price, keeper of the Inquisition's Black Library, and this is the third volume in a report on the Valentyne Heresy, an actual play podcast set in the Genesis adaptation of Warhammer 40,000's Dark Heresy RPG. This report features Game Master Tom McGee and players Ryan LaPlante as Inquisitor Lucius Valentyne, Tyler Hewitt as Attikus Viz, Laura Hamstra as Eli Sharp, and Della Borovic as Morgan Rawls. My report shows that the Inquisitorial band's royal wedding is about to start. Morgan and Eli are in attendance on the grounds with weapons in hand. Attikus and Valentyne witnessed the end of the lower-class rebellion and ordered arrests, and the Cloud Palace is docking. But what will happen now that they've learned Forest Pollard is a former World Eater? Find out next in this episode of the Valentyne Heresy.
From a live feed of the Lizardman letter. Well, darlings, it seems that things just keep dying around here. Our beloved two-faced weirdo, Bobby Bobberstein, seems to be the most recent heir to a house to drop. At this rate, I am wondering what the society will even look like in a few hours, let alone a few days. Truly, this has been one of the most cataclysmic celestial seasons this particular reporter has ever seen. I suppose let this be an open call, then, to you small people, lesser houses out there. There's lots of room at the top. Time to start striving. You've received images of the Space Marine Forest Pollard pre-reconstructive surgery with a number of indentations around his hairline and kind of along his temples that, Valentyne, to your eye, distinctly match where butcher's nails would be inserted and implanted, as you saw on Tank, the Marine that you pulped in the basement. The image has been circulated to all of you except for Attikus, who is currently still posing, still striking a pose. However, Valentyne, as we've discussed before, you're probably the only one who would understand the significance of what you're looking at. But even then, as you said last episode, this seems somewhat impossible. So where are you at with this?
Oh, I mean, not somewhat. It's completely impossible, according to his knowledge of Imperial records. From the Inquisitorial archives, the World Eaters were... Now we're just going to go into deep lore, fam. Hit us with it. The World Eaters were one of the original 20 legions. I can never remember the number because the numbers are never important or thematically linked to their overall abilities. But the World Eaters were berserkers, so they were originally a combat-focused legion until they found their Primarch, Angron. He was angry. He grew up on... he was captured and brought up on like a slaving world with a lot of gladiatorial games was the whole hook behind this planet. He was captured and turned into a gladiator, and they used these alien sourced, no one really knew the original source of them, rigs that they would insert through the skull into people's brains, specifically gladiators, that would cause them pain under all circumstances unless they were engaging in combat. Then they would experience the dopamine rush of aggression, but the answer was violence was the only thing that would remove the pain, and the longer they went without violence, the more exponentially painful their existence would be. Angron had those put in. He was the champion gladiator of the world. Then he basically had his own Spartacus adventure where he led the gladiators in a revolt. They fought their way out of the city. They killed the owners who were standing over them and basically ended up in a desert. And they were having the night of their very last stand because every one of the technologically vastly superior nations and owners and all of that had put together the full armies of the world to close in on this small group of gladiators and wipe them out in this one final battle. And then the Emperor showed up, but the Emperor didn't show up with enough troops to be able to win the battle. So the Emperor just teleported Angron out and was like, you don't get to die here. And then his entire gladiator army were left without their charismatic leader and were massacred. And then the Emperor was like, you get to fight for me now. And for Angron, it was completely infuriating because it lost his noble death, lost his dignity, constantly in pain because of the butcher's nails, wanted to kill everything, and then ended up semi-willingly and semi-coercingly running his own Legion of Space Marines, even though he hated them because the only thing that ended pain was combat. So he was trapped in this endless loop. When he went to the Legion, they kept sending all of their superior officers to have meetings with him, and he kept murdering them. So it'd just be like the next 3 captains would go in and there'd be 3 dead captains. 20 minutes later, they'd draw straws and figure out who was going to go talk to him. And then eventually it was, I'm pretty sure, Karn, known as Karn the Betrayer, one of those big names. Karn made his way in and pitched the idea of the Legion having the butcher's nails implanted. And then they did. and it was irreversible for all of them. So the Butcher's Nails became the World Eater's trait. They did it to try to connect with their Primarch, and ultimately failed. He still hated them all. He hated everything. He just fought near them and despised them slightly less. But it means they break minds over time. They drive people to insanity. You can't remove them without killing the host, which was true of every Marine they ever attempted on. It killed them, and they couldn't even get them removed from the Primarch despite his healing factor because they were so baked in. And they had every other Primarch basically try to run the math on how it could be done, including the Emperor, and everybody was like, nope, those don't come out. So the fact that we have a Space Marine who appears to have had the Butcher's Nails and no longer does is a level of scientific, physical, and religious inconsistency that Valentyne cannot wrap his brain around. So, crooked, yes. Odds are, is this a heretic? Yes. Those can't be removed, but were they? Maybe it's just scarring. There's no point in sharing this with Attikus other than to show him so he knows it's not Rafferty. And he doesn't need to share this with anybody else, but this is a brain-breaking impossibility for him because someone can't do something the Emperor couldn't do. Mm-hmm. That's where he is.
Are we seeing any of that in his demeanor?
Oh, God, no.
No?
Are you
Wow.
kidding me?
His
He's still got that
blank
mask
eyes?
on. He's staring forward.
rock
He just
solid.
had that data slate, closed it down, and looked up. He's got that tempered will that removes setback. And in this case, it's just there's no facial expression. He's just standing next to you. Luckily, nothing's going on, so there's nothing he really needs to pay attention to. He's just going to try to wrap his brain around this before slowly dragging his attention back to the mission at hand.
Damn.
So a lot going on for Valentyne in this particular moment. Doesn't change the fact that you're at a wedding.
No, nothing does. He's still a butler at a wedding.
Yeah, just the perfect time to have a religious crisis of faith. So that's fine. So you've received that, Morgan. I don't know if you'd be expecting a response from Valentyne at all, but you get nothing but.
Yeah, not expecting a response and not even knowing exactly what is supposed to be found or figuring that if Valentyne needs her to do something else, he will just call and say, do another thing. And in the meantime, that's like, okay, checked off my list. Now I can go back to focusing on this party and seeing if we can get further into the palace or anything like that. So it is back to just watching.
Great. So Voidstain turns to, I think, Clarence and says, "Pardon me, Clarence. Are we allowed to have weapons in our role as special forces for the king? I noticed that our cloaks. Well, mine doesn't seem to have any pockets or anything.
Well,
I
my
can
lord,
use to fight.
my lord,
Yes.
the request from His Majesty came for the Lady Varn and myself to be security. You accompany us."
I see, but if you're protecting him, who will protect you? Who watches the watchman? Perhaps it could be me.
Morgan's good.
Varn watches me, I watch Varn.
Morgan will snap back into this conversation. She was like a Toby vision and then overhears them talking and is like, I don't want them arguing at this party. But she snaps back in and she turns and she puts her hands on either side of Voidstain's face. She says, "Let me and my men be the muscle, and you can be the smarts. Just keep your eyes open and watch out for any political pitfalls that could snap up from under us."
Okay, I will be as vigilant as called for. I will not fail you, milady.
I know you won't. Good job. And she'll give him like a little forehead smooch.
Like melts,
This is all we need to do.
a statue under boiling buckets of water being tossed on it. Just
We've all
melts,
seen it.
melts a little bit.
Eli just laments not having Morgan's skill in that respect. God damn.
Anything to shut this guy up.
Yeah.
5 fucking
There you
minutes.
go. Be quiet now.
He turns back to you, Clarence, and nods in a like, understood. We're in this together. We are comrades at arms way.
God, barely suppressed eye roll once again.
Morgan will give Eli a little shoulder pat. Like she can see that he's biting back on everything.
There's a clenching of the jaw and nothing else.
Yeah. These boys, I gotta just settle them. They'll be fine. We got this. Back to Toby Vision. I gotta see if shit's happening.
Great. Okay, so from Toby Vision, you can see Royal Guard dispersing kind of down the bridge, forming a sort of a phalanx on either side. I can't form a phalanx on either side. That's not true. Lining the bridge at attention with their weapons. Again, the other side of the bridge is literally a firing line. There's no fucking around going on. Two guards do kind of like one of them points to you and kind of gives you a wave of like over here to you and Clarence, and then they see Voidstain and are kind of like give you the "Are you sure?"
And she points to him, and then it's like nod, like yes, nod.
And there's just some like you see the Royal Guards make some snarky comments, and just nod. They're used to the king ordering shit, so fair enough. So you're allowed to cross the bridge as everyone else is kind of like rushing over, and it's almost like securing a landing site. Like there are Royal Guard taking up positions. There are guard that were part of the pavilion, but the guard from the palace. Their armor is slightly better adorned, so they have indications that they're sort of like a gold trimmed everything just to show like these are the elite best of the best. They're not here to fuck around. So they kind of take up positions, and a royal liaison walks over. She is done up in kind of very, very elaborate makeup, is walking in incredibly impractical heels for this amount of snow, but is also wearing Royal Guard armor. It's just been tailored to her form. And she has a cloak in the colors of the Fitzgerald house, kind of slung just very casually kind of across her shoulder. It's almost like halfway between a scarf and a cloak. And she just approaches and bows to you, Lord Van Houten, and then turns to you, Robute, and says, "The king sends his best wishes. I am here to coordinate the efforts of the actual marriage ceremony. The Duke will be crossing the bridge momentarily. We will be able to begin the ceremony. I understand that instructions have not necessarily been conveyed to you or to Lord Van Houten. Do you have any questions about the forthcoming rituals?"
What do you need my lord and I to do?
She nods, and someone just like a data slate appears in her hands, like an XL sized, like the big iPad version of the iPad. Says, "We will be trying to make this relatively quick, though we must stand on ceremony. There have been a few too many threats, and we do not want to expose anyone for too long. Your lord will stand here," and she like snaps, and someone like quickly runs in and just puts down a little tape mark. His mark will be there. The Duke's mark will be there. The officiant will be standing just behind the two of them. The officiant will say some words about the nature of Greybridge, the future, etc., at which point they will be invited to say a few words to each other. The expectation is not that these will be long, drawn-out vows, but rather just a few words confirming their feelings for one another. After the Lord Van Houten's display of poetry last night, it has been determined that his intentions are pure and understandable and everything that people want in a romance-type thing. So we're fine with that. We simply need some confirmation. The officiant will then ask them to clutch hands. We ask that your lord use his organic hand, otherwise there are some weird legalities around whether or not he actually swore. We will wrap a rope around both hands. The officiant will bless it. They will each say that they vow themselves to the other one. Everyone will applaud. There will be tears. There will be cheers. We will get Lord Van Houten aboard the Cloud Palace as soon as possible, and we will take off from this accursed planet and just drift through the clouds together, away from rabble and assassins. Does this work for you?
He looks to Attikus.
Yes, that all seems fine.
Actually,
Will my butler be able to join us?
You can tell that she's like, she's stuck in a weird spot. She's trying not to talk to you out of respect. She's not used to being spoken to by the big person, so she's kind of like looking between the two of you. And then finally she turns her attention to you, though bows her head and keeps her eyes to the floor and says, Yes, I understand his weapons are ceremonial and decorative in nature. Not true, they will need to be checked by the Royal Guard before he may step foot aboard the Cloud Palace. However, yes, you are allowed one assistant or servant. If this man is your pick, he will be allowed to step aboard before we depart.
Well, then I do so name my accompanying assistant to be Rabute Figuerello.
Wonderful. We shall mark Mr. Smiggleton off the list.
Oh, bullet dodged.
Like camera pans, just nuts. The finger snaps it. You must accept our apologies. The Van Houten House's late entry into all of this means that we're just catching up on some of the paperwork. Hugh Smiggleton was the only registered staff member we had. My apologies, sir. It will not happen again.
No offense intended, none taken.
That is incredibly gracious of you. Thank you. Very good. Well, we will try and get this done quickly. My lord, I appreciate that this may not be the romantic day you had always imagined, but we will do our best to make sure it is as romantic as possible while also remaining safe. It is of the utmost importance that you and the Duke both survive the ceremony, so you will forgive us for being somewhat more taciturn in our ceremonies here.
The Duke and I have the rest of our lives for romance. I'm interested in security today.
She nods and says, that is both practical and romantic. Excellent.
I know it's not true, but it's still like giving me like the happy feels.
Aw. I'm sure nothing will change that.
Murderous liar.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just getting swept up in the fantasy of it.
yeah.
The Imperium's best murderer. That's his soft husband. Yeah.
There's going to be a spin-off podcast that's just like any of the true crime podcasts about like a serial killer who is a great con person. And it's just going to be like, in the year of the Imperium, 2030, a man reporting to be Lord Van Houten married Duke Wixthrop. Little did he know the man he was marrying was a robot-armed murderer. I'm Ira Glass. This is Big Arm Smashy Wedding.
Big Arm Smashy Wedding.
I'll save all my good shit for the actual story. Okay. So with that, the appropriate amount of guards kind of rush forward. An officiant who is wearing an overly complex outfit that is clearly kind of just a lot of robes, far too many robes, an overly large hat. It almost looks like a small church that this man is wearing on his head. He's slowly shuffling through the bridge in snow forward, holding just kind of a large stone tablet with some ancient writing on it and the sigil of Greybridge on the back. Frederick has appeared on sort of floating screens. There are screens ringing this garden that have been kind of flown in by the hover vehicles. They're the same ones that were used for the executions, but instead they're just kind of they're right now just showing the royal crest of the Fitzgerald house. But he will not be leaving the Cloud Palace for this. Again, it's important to note that this whole event has been thrown into disarray by the fact that the choice is very clear. In theory, this was meant to be a lot more of a like, who's it going to be? It could be any one of these people. And as I've said off air a couple times, even just from a planning perspective, like I wasn't aware that Attikus would win this much. So it has just kind of become a matter of like, this is well and clearly done. The Duke's not going to say yes to anyone else. No one else, and most of them are dead now anyway. So what are you going to do?
It's down to Attikus or Haldren Warwalker. Those are your choices.
And Voidstein.
It's true.
Yeah.
Although his heart may have been won by another.
The Duke
him out
chooses
of the
him. He's like,
race.
nah, I can't. Sorry.
My heart
must
belongs to
decline.
another.
A rogue trader made off with my heart. So
I regaled her with tales of my knowledge all of last night.
That's right. I didn't sleep a wink. I was under the blankets. That's what sex is, right? Guys?
So everyone kind of takes their places, and the Duke comes out, and he is wearing full, like, almost James Bond villain in, like, Siberia level of, like, big white fur cape, giant, I always forget the name of the hats, but Tyler, you always remember.
Anushanka?
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Giant Anshanka. He is clean shaven now. He's back to full, like, handsome boy Henry Cavill, not like dirty Geralt boy Henry
I
Cavill.
like Geralt Boy more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me
okay.
too.
Women everywhere go, well, fine, I
Never
guess.
mind.
Yeah.
Women
At
and
least he
Tyler.
didn't turn into Liam Hemsworth, am I right? So he comes striding out, and he is wearing a lot more royal adornment. There's a lot more metal, sort of like metal chains of office and that sort of thing. He also has a las pistol on his hip. You can tell that it is a replica. It's an exact copy of the one that he used in the maze. The theory, of course, would be this is the gun, but that gun is with Clarence.
Hell yeah.
So he's just wearing another gun from that armory, but it's clearly one of those, like, look what he did. He did the thing. And his cape and things are pulled back to show that in kind of a cowboy looking to draw, but it's been pinned back specifically to always be present, trying to make a non-war hero look like a war hero kind of situation. So yes, he comes striding out, and he's only got eyes for you, Attikus. He's not looking at the pomp and circumstance, and you can tell he's kind of striding out with actual kind of excitement, because he's not here for the ritual, he's here for you.
Right.
So he comes forward and just kind of leans in and says, I'm told this will be mercifully short, so at least we have that going for us.
Yes, I was told the same thing. I'm looking forward to, getting on with it.
Yeah, and the royal attendant steps in and says, sorry, no, don't speak before the ceremony. That's not how we do things. And then she just like points at the ground. Says, my lord Duke, you must please take your mark. My lord Duke, you must stand. Just
Can I guide him over to his mark?
Sure.
Yeah, I'll bring him over to where we both need to stand.
Great. So yeah,
Because I want this fucking over and done with fast too. It's like, yep,
yeah.
okay.
She shoots you a glance of thank you, and steps aside. So a hush falls over the crowd as the screens all flip over to the king. Now the king looks pretty put together. There is a lot of makeup happening to keep that the haggardness together, but he is fully on a throne in a room you don't recognize. There's kind of a massive mural behind him that is just like, seems to be scenes of revelry, scenes of excess. There's feasting, there's fucking. It's a very, very big, complex, like basically a filthy pastoral style painting. So like it's, out in a field and everyone's just like cavorting, very much a faun and satyr kind of thing, except that everyone is just a human because, Imperium. So he's sitting on a large golden throne, not to be confused with the golden throne, but just a golden throne that has kind of an unnecessarily long slope to either side. So it's not a tall chair, but it is a very wide chair. And it's very full filigree and excess. There are a number of little tables and platforms. Most of them hold a variety of drinks and food. There's definitely some lines. On one of them is a little pile of powder just beneath it with a scoop. And he's sitting there holding the scepter that you saw the statue hold, and an ancient Aquila in one hand, but he's holding that one the scepter he's holding in a very physical way. He's not like holding up the Aquila. It's just an icon he's casually handling.
Okay.
And he just says, citizens of Greybridge, well, it wasn't the celestial season we all wanted. It wasn't the celestial season we all intended. It wasn't the celestial season we all expected. But it has been one hell of a ride. And here we are now, not just with the Duke announcing someone that he's kind of into or a winner of some contests, but true love has reared its ugly head yet again, and we find ourselves at a royal wedding. Now, you'll note this one's going to be a bit faster than the ones you may have seen in some of the old pick vids. It's because of all the murderous pricks that have been involved in the past few days. So, in addition to our accelerated season, we're going to have an accelerated wedding. I would like to take a moment, though, to remember Lady Ballensong, who I think of all the dead heirs might be the only one I actually like. So, a brief moment for dear dead Gwendy. Great. Now that we're done that, let's get to the wedding so we can get to the party, which I'm sure you'll hear about from Lizzo Lizardman, but that you can't attend, but you can, imagine. And it is going to be one hell of a party. So without further ado, let's get to the wedding. As Regent of Greybridge and in, the name of, he taps the Aquila with his scepter, says, our great benefactors and the Lord Emperor of Man and the Imperium, I hereby declare this wedding in order. Get to Marion so we can get to partying. All right. And then just kind of tosses the Aquila on one of the side tables and clutches the scepter and just taps it kind of impatiently against his hand. Anyone?
Are we watching this on vid screen?
Yeah,
this is being projected.
Vid screen's projected by
okay.
hover vehicles.
Right.
Yeah, he's not within shooting range, if that's what you're...
No. I was just wondering. I just wanted to be sure that I was seeing this.
Yeah, all of you do. Any big thoughts going on for Eli?
Oh, Eli just bristles at the handling of the Aquila so carelessly. That's...
Yeah, Valentine's just thinking like, oh, if this planet doesn't pay tithes, then I can absolutely kill this guy. Governor's only purpose of any planet, not king, but governor's only purpose on any planet is to make sure tithes are paid.
Yeah.
So if they're not paying tithes, this person is a cancer.
I mean, yeah. As you'll recall from your earlier briefing, this is a Nepo planet from like
exactly.
They get special treatment for some reason.
Yeah. Possible Lord of Terra entanglement. Oopsie poopsie, have a planet. In any case, so the officiant kind of shuffles up and has just like a vox mouth grafted onto his jaw, and he kind of like adjusts the frequency until it's much, much louder. And he says, "People of Greybridge, we are here today to merge two wonderful houses. We have the Duke Wixthrop, and we have returning son of Greybridge, Lord Francois Van Houten, son of Von Van Houten of House Van Houten. Together, these two represent the future of our fine society, and will learn at the side of King Fitzgerald, who hopefully will live for many, 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 many more years." And the king, taking just a bump off his thumb, goes, "Huh? Oh, yeah." Thumbs up with a little bit of dust on it.
Cokey thumb up.
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
And the officiant basically does that reaction, just looking up at the screens for just a beat too long, and then slowly adjusts his head back down. Says, "I've been told to keep this brief, so let us remember that the light of the Emperor shines upon us all, and let that light bless your union. Now, it is time for you to speak the words, then clasp hands. I will begin to untangle the rope." And he starts pulling the rope and untangling it. So Wixthrop kind of puts out his hand to you, and you're meant to do the classic forearm grasp. So he kind of puts out his hand to you.
I'm in there, baby.
Great.
Yeah, grab that thing.
So the Duke says, "Lord Van Houten, Francois, you came to this planet in a tremendously strange time, a time where it seemed to me that the future was indeed very grim and that I couldn't find a place in it. And yet, through your virtue, your values, your principles, your sheer rugged abilities, you have helped stamp out a conspiracy. You have shown sportsmanship and grace under tremendous pressure in a place that was openly hostile to you based on your family name. You've risen above the society, and I believe that together you can help me raise the society. I did not enter this contest expecting to find love, but rather an efficient partnership. And it would seem with you I have found both. So," and he uses his free hand to pull an ancient quill out of his jacket, and he says, "I stand ready with quill to mark the paper of your heart."
Duke Wixthrop, I too came back to Greybridge, thinking I would find only glory in self-interest, that the Van Houten house would require much work to be uplifted. But I was fortunate. Blessed to be given the opportunity to come to know you and to compete for your hand, and to find that, as you say, there is more than just a powerful union here. I have also come to find love.
Fuck.
I love you, Wixthrop.
And he swoons at this. He says, I love you, Francois. And he turns to the officiant and says, can you hurry along the rope? I would rather make this official. Can you roll me a deception check?
Here we go.
I am dead.
Yeah, I might be dead too. Let's see. Deception,
Too much?
cunning. So 2 greens in the dice pool, baby. Let's go.
All right. I'm going to make this a low difficulty because you've been competing for his heart. So you've got good odds in your favor for people buying this. So it's going to be just a difficulty of 2.
All
You
right.
best believe I'm spending a story point to
I mean,
jack
right
those
back
in.
at
All
you,
right.
pal.
Yay!
Great. Okay.
Clinch your moment.
So
Haul
You
your
get
ass off.
a boost. You get a boost for him clearly being in love with you, which helps quite a bit. I'm going to give you a boost for Laura's reactions. To be honest, I think this is worth it. I think you've
This
earned
is
it.
huge.
Laura's
Yeah.
fine.
Laura's
Her
all in.
feelings are.
Laura's all in.
Laura's feelings are real.
Laura caught feelings.
Tom, I got a dumb pitch. What about a boost for each event he's won?
Fuck yeah, man. Okay, sure. I think that. So all of them, I guess.
So
you get
4
one
boosts
for the race.
for each season.
Well, you don't get it for
Oh, no, not for winter. So you get 3 boosts.
Yeah, so 3 boosts.
3. God damn. Okay.
And you get a setback for the fact that you're actually fucking lying. You're a man who does not believe this.
No, yeah.
But are just doing your best to say it.
I'm
Believe you.
literally Attikus is like, God, the word is lost from me, but he's just picked. He was up all night watching
It's like Mad Libs.
Watching wedding videos.
Thank you. He's just cherry picking
Yeah.
vows that appeared to have made an impact.
Well, man, look at Laura. Mission accomplished. man. Yeah.
Appeared to have made an impact of like hearing like
great.
like audibly through the videos, like, oh, that must have been good then. It's not-
You know what? Fuck it. I'll give you another boost for spending all night watching wedding videos. That's a good. That's a good pull.
Boy.
He's
Okay.
not smart. He's prepared
He's
like a
prepared.
military man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Go for it.
Oh boy. Wow. Unreal. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 advantage and nothing else.
Wow. Yeah, get this.
Yeah.
Get this boy some help.
Sorry.
Pardon me while we
It's
all
just
refer
so
to
much.
advantage and triumph. Well, no
God
triumphs,
damn.
but
Love triumph.
Tyler, I got a really dumb pitch for you
Yeah?
and Tom. For 3 advantage, you can negate the targeted enemy's defense until the end of this round. Could we just
His
negate
judgment?
his suspicion?
Negate his heart defensiveness. Heart defense is down. Shields down.
The walls are down, Tom. It's pure paper in there.
Yeah. All right. I'll take it. Yeah.
Write it on his paper heart.
Yeah. Sold. Okay.
There you go, Tyler.
Yeah.
So he nods, and the officiant quickly like wraps your wrists. He says, "I believe that between those 2 very heartfelt and earnest deliveries, that there's no need to pledge."
We'll spend the second 3 on the official.
I see no need for additional pledging. I will simply say that in the name of the Emperor, the Imperium of Man, and the Kingdom of Greybridge, I am honored to pronounce you man, and man, you may kiss your husband.
I do. Yeah.
Yep. Do you dip him, or what are we doing here?
Let's
rubber
see.
arm dip?
We're tethered, right? We've
Yep.
got our forearm. We're grasping
Yep.
each other's forearms, and then it's wrapped around that.
Yep.
So then I pull him by like the elbow. I pull his elbow in towards like my waist, so that he's like bent down, and then the big arm comes up around, almost like a fucking, like a. like a vampire lord's wing, just a gargoyle's wing,
it's the
just
Batman
up and around.
thing.
Up and around. But it's the I think it's grabbing him by the forearm, just pulling his elbow down to my waist so that he's leaned forward, and then I kiss him.
Wonderful. There's applause. There are tears. There are a lot of people who are hoping for a speak now, who didn't get it. Who didn't get to say their objections.
Well, I mean, I would have killed them, so good.
Yeah, fair enough. Morgan, you feel just a hand squeeze your shoulder because you can't squeeze your hand because you're holding a gun. But Voidstain just like giving you the equivalent of like a hand squeeze when true love is happening at a wedding. So just kind of like reaches up and just squeezes your shoulder.
Get off of me.
Yeah, she figured that would be coming. She's gonna fake being misty eyed, like, and then pat him on the head.
I guess I'll start saving up for some rope. He says,
Jesus, I've had a dark thought about
No.
when he finds out it's all.
No, he's talking about the wedding rope.
I mean, it's up to him how he uses the rope, Tyler.
Oh yeah,
wedding
there's
cord.
options. He leaves it his options open.
This
So-
love will last the rest of my life.
So
may be
there's
right.
celebrations, like champagne is popped. There's a lot of people making out now. There's just a lot of like, a lot of people are shooting their shot. And new alliances are forming, new love. The band sweeps up a paper mache version of the Duke, and the
It's
Duke
here.
consort
You got
gets
to do
rolled
it.
out. It's like the two of them, but their heads are the sun, and everyone's like, "What the fuck?" And Cornelius Venom Blight just screams, "Yes!" Before falling backward into a pile of melted statues. The party proceeds to just get proper crazy.
A pile of melted ice statues, or as it's sometimes called, a
Water.
Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants. Highfalutin words.
Pile of water.
Learn that in the Scholar Progenium? Yes, he falls into a pile of water.
Yeah.
Just a heaping pile.
Yeah.
How they get that water so high?
They stack that water pretty good.
They brought a water shovel.
Yeah. Jenga the water just ever so carefully. Oh, no, wait, the water's going to tip over.
That pile had to be several millimeters thick.
Yeah. Look at it, all the water clattering to the floor.
Tension's so good.
Somebody get a dustpan. I'm done. Sorry, I'm done. This is too much.
There's so much
bit is going
statue
on for us.
soaking into the earth.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Okay. I love you, Tom.
Yeah, we all good? We got our goofers out?
yeah,
Good boy. Goofers is becoming.
Victrix comes over. Drink of the pile of statue.
The Celestial files off into the pile.
exactly.
It's a good statue.
Everyone's slipping on that pile.
Yeah, Yeah. So with that, you are whisked by security. It's very Mr. President. Like,
Perfect.
kiss is done, and
Good,
just
yeah.
immediately, like, guards just close it around you, be like, we need to go, and start to usher you across the bridge. Security has run forward and has basically, like, dropped into firing positions to cover your polite walk while, like, the Grey Bridge equivalent of the Wedding March plays. Obviously, Rabute, you're with them. They pat you down real quick. You show the weapons.
Yep.
You get some eye rolls behind the helmets, but whatever.
That's fine.
They're used to rich people being weird. Haldren Warwalker just like raises his wooden sword that he was carrying before and is just like trying to give you like a soldier salute. You don't notice. You're on your way out. He's just want to close out
He
that
is a
arc.
nothing man. I don't care.
He's a nothing man.
Yeah.
Cuckoo. So off you go, and you're kind of whisked onto the outer grounds of the Cloud Palace. Immediately, the bridge is sort of drawn in. It's like a cruise ship leaving. You know, the crowd below is like waving. Everyone's doing that weird slow wave that people do as the bridge pulls in, and you are also frisked. Like both of you are fully patted down. The Duke is livid about this, but so many assassins. And you catch sight of Morgan and Eli, who are kind of around, and of course Voidstain, who's there too. Valentyne, would you try and get a message to them or anything, or are you just letting this
Not
ride?
while he's surrounded by it. This is, we have achieved this level of deception. We need to maintain this level of deception. This was, the biggest hurdle is the step 1 of this plan, but he really doesn't want to fuck up step 2 by being like, we did it. It's excellent. Good work.
Yeah.
Oh, pat Voidstein on the head for me.
Yeah. Morgan would like lay it on a little thick with Voidstain though, especially as the gate and everything is closed. It's just like, you see, when we worked together, we did get here after all.
Oh, you're right. We did. We made it to the Cloud Palace. Oh, this is more than I could have hoped for. Truly, we are an unstoppable team. And you, Clarence, you're here too. This is wonderful. I love you, Captain.
Thank you.
Oh. He just nods and says, "Yep, okay."
Clarence
I feel like I
and-
need to do a cool check or something.
Clarence and Voidstein both take straight.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So to be clear, they are back on the ground floor, or they got to go up the bridge and are on the palace?
They're at the palace. The palace has an outer grounds that is like just a fancy garden that, you know, people can go for strolls for and other things. So it's the exterior of the palace. There's basically it's not a moat, but there are grounds that you could walk outside the castle. So they won't be allowed inside. Their job is to guard the...
So these agents of the Imperium have all made it on board. Are there other members of the marriage crowd who are on these exterior grounds, or was it just the 5 of us plus the Duke?
Yeah, like the officiant came back. Basically, anyone who came
Anyone from
across
the
the
palace,
bridge
yeah.
is allowed to go back across the bridge. But no one else from over there is allowed it. For what you know from your briefing is that there is like a court of just like fucking hangers-on and people that Frederick has in the castle. So there's going to be a bunch of sycophants in there. Some of them will be administrators. From what Attikus has learned, he has a whole harem in there. So there'll be a bunch of people in there. There'll likely be some highborns that are just out of the sphere of influence. They might even be names you recognize, last names you recognize, but are basically now in his inner circle. So they're so far above the society that they all just hang out in the Cloud Palace all the time. And just it's basically just a giant fucking party barge. And he just needs people around. Otherwise, it's not a good party.
Yeah, then Valentine's just going to be sneering at them. They're a party that is directly at odds with his lord, and how dare they have mistreated him. So that fiction stays in place.
Great. So with that, Morgan and Eli, you're still outside.
Yeah.
Currently, again, you haven't seen any direct actions taken against the palace from down below. It really does seem, and again, like in the greater scheme of things, how many things would be happening right now is lower because of how many you've dealt with to this point. But with the rebellion put down, with the main conspirators knocked out, with anyone who is kind of an active player in the attempts to assassinate either the Duke or the King out of commission, it really does seem like you've been handed an easy job so far by the King. Valentyne, would you be trying to get more Forest Pollard information from Troseus during all this, or is this kind of we have to be full attention here?
I think his full attention is here because Forest Pollard is not on the palace, and if the palace is taken off again, Forest Pollard does not factor into this yet.
Gotcha.
So he would get that in downtime, but right now it's what are our angles, how many people, how armed are people, where are we going, learning the layout. He has a lot of things to learn, just operational details, if they're going to find this Eldari or just find weapons and be able to make a move.
Great. All right. So with that, the sort of royal attendant comes back over and she says, "Thank you both for your assistance in making sure that ran very smoothly. Again, my lord, that was beautiful. Forgive me, Duke Consort. That was a beautiful show of affection. I think one the society will remember for some time. This evening's events will begin momentarily. We will first have some drinks and refreshments in the main hall. You'll be expected to greet various members of the court, after which, I will leave it to the Duke to walk you through the rest. But please follow me into the Cloud Palace, and she kind of like takes a second to go on script. And prepare to enjoy all the delights of the sky." And with that, the doors to the palace open slowly, but very grandiose, kind of like large double doors, are pulled open by a number of servants, just hauling as hard as they can. No servos. Everything is just done very, very manually. and immediately just perfumed air washes over you, as well as sort of golden light as you look into a massive sort of round entry hallway, 2 big circular staircases kind of leading up at the north end of the room, a massive statue of King Fitzgerald just completely naked, but like raising a glass and kind of doing the Gatsby welcome hand, like, come on in, we're gonna have a party, in the center. The confetti just rains down. There's like pops as sort of glittering confetti falls, and the king himself is there to greet you in sort of fine robes, with a drink in each hand, surrounded by hangers-on, big grin on his face, and he looks to you, Attikus, and just says, "Come on in, nephew. It's time to fucking party."
This episode of the Valentyne Heresy features the voices of players Ryan LaPlante, Tyler Hewitt, Laura Hamstra, and Del Borovic, alongside Game Master Tom McGee. This episode was edited and mixed by Laura Hamstra, and the Valentyne Heresy's artwork was created by Del Borovic at delborovic.com. That's DELBOROVIC. Our theme song is The Hordes by Megan McDuffie, and our ad breaks use the tracks No Control and Chiefs by Jazzar, JAHZZAR. All of their music is available at freemusicarchive.org. For all things Dum Dums and Dice, including merchandise and how to join our Patreon, you can visit dumdumdice.com or find us on social media at dumdumdice. That's DUMBDICE. Ave Imperator, and death to all the heretics.
Dum Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time: Christopher Little, George Dolby, Richard Cranium, Gavin and Abby McDonald, Logan, Fire Unfriendly, Grandma Likes D&D, Alan, Stabby Stranger, Glitch Trick, Flynn1138, Alarain Okapi, Schrodinger's Pepper, Madre de Gatos, Lady Maiden, Garbo Ape, Locke, Sam Schaefer, Waffle Marine, Dagger Rain, Rob L, Dia De Los Hoodless, Squishy Werewolf, Remy, Funky Head, Nomad, the Wise Paladin of the Badlands, Accent Therapeutic Services in Florence, Kentucky, Lael, Shulzari, The Long Family, Jordan Oliver, Richard Wright, Brittany Fenwick, Alex Parr, Old Man Mojo, Dragonfly, The Body Barrelers, Megan Werner, A Man Out of Time, Curtis at FingerTechRobotics.com, Panda24NN, Shendra D, Your Homeboy Bones, The Gator Family, Ellis Hatch, Odigenous, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.